The news, but just how many people are coming to Europe and indeed the UK? Here's our political reporter Bob Cooper with some number crunching.
Almost 440,000 people sought asylum in Europe up to the end of July this year, according to the latest figures from the UN's Refugee Agency. That compares to about 570,000 in the whole of last year. The highest number are going to Germany, 188,000, while Sweden is getting the highest number in proportion to the size of its population. The UK has a much smaller number, with only 25,000 in the whole 12 months up until the end of June. The UK rejected 60% of applications in 2014. The largest group of asylum seekers in Europe, according to the latest statistics, come from Syria, followed by Eritrea in East Africa, where there are accusations of torture and oppression. The UK has had about 7,000 asylum applications from Syria since the war began there. The government says about 5,000 have been accepted. Germany, meanwhile, has almost 100,000 applications, and that's still a fraction of the 2 million Syrian refugees in Turkey. And the voyage to Europe has proved a dangerous one. More than 2,500 people have died trying to get across the Mediterranean this year, according to the International Organization for Migration.
Well, this is a crisis affecting the whole of Europe, but so far the EU has failed to find a solution, and UKIP's Euro MP for North West England, Stephen Wolfe, says it can't solve the problem.
Europe is actually the one that's facing the burden of people coming in, and people are risking their lives to get to Europe. But it's the world's problem here, and it's not just Europe's, and therefore we have to have people who are able to deliver, and European Union has proven time and time again it can't deliver.
He says instead there should be a conference of UN members to try to address the root causes of people fleeing their homelands. And he says the UK is already doing its fair share for those people already at Europe's borders.
We are already doing a quite substantial amount to deal with. The problem is, as we said, and other countries recognise that. We've had the Belgian minister, we've had the German minister, that if you continue to take more, then more will come, and you have to solve the problem first. And distributing what we've got at the moment, I think, is pretty fair.
Well, I'm joined by two more of our local MEPs. Sajjad Karim is a Conservative MEP for the North West, whilst Julie Ward represents the same region for Labour. We'll begin with Julie Ward. Good morning to you. What are you doing as an MEP to try and help, actually, what's now a crisis for the whole of Europe?
Well, I believe that we need a really compassionate response to this. I don't think saying that it's just a problem for one particular member state, one particular country, or Europe as a bloc is adequate. It is a global crisis, and I believe that we need to respond acting together with the UN, so not independently but together, and doing the best that we can. I mean, the European Union has a civil protection mechanism which can be activated in emergencies, and this is an emergency. And we were rescuing people in the Mediterranean, and then the government pulled out of that agreement last October, only opting back in the late spring. And I think, why are we opting out of systems where we already had agreements to work with our neighbours on basic fundamental European values of solidarity?
Well, let's bring in Sajjad Karim, who's a Conservative MP for the North West. Sajjad Karim, good morning to you. Your response to what Julie Ward has said, and also I'd be interested to know as well from you what sort of discussions you're having with your European partners.
Well, yesterday I actually made my way back to the northwest of England from the European Parliament, and the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, was present in Parliament, and it was quite clear that Europe is very divided as to how we need to deal with this emerging crisis. And I use the word emerging because it's only now that it is beginning to hit the public consciousness here in the United Kingdom as to what has actually been happening for very many, many months now.
Do you think the picture of the Syrian child washed up on the beach has been the thing which has moved public opinion, which has hit the public consciousness?
Without a shadow of a doubt. This poor child who has been shown washed up on the beach, unfortunately, is not the first. However, he is the first to come directly in front and confront the conscience of Europeans and British citizens, and that is what they are now beginning to react to. But the point is this, that this crisis is far too big a crisis for any one individual nation to manage on their own. And this is where I must absolutely give due credit to Angela Merkel and German leadership for stepping up to the mark. Those European nations who as yet have not fulfilled their individual responsibilities, both legal and moral, must now step up to the mark. And I'm very pleased to see that yesterday our Prime Minister made an announcement that we as a country were going to adopt our position to ensure that we react in a proper manner.
Julie Ward, what do you make of the Stephen Wolfe point, Stephen Wolfe for UKIP's Euro MP for the North West, that the more people we take in, the more will come?
People are coming anyway. We can't stop that. Desperate people do desperate things, and that's what Stephen Wolfe fails to understand. These people are desperate. If we were what you have to do is put yourself in their shoes, in their situation. I would want other countries to act and respond in a compassionate way to my situation. If I was a mother with a child who was forced to flee conflict and who had no other option, and I'd just like to point out that this issue about Syrian refugees is not new. Labour in December 2013, so I'm talking 2013, not 2015, not 2014, we urged the government then to accept more Syrian refugees. We wanted to join 16 nations, including the US, France and Germany, in agreeing to allow Syrians to move to our country. So we were making a call for this nearly 2 years ago. We were aware of the situation then, and we've been constantly calling for a humanitarian response to this ever since. And before I was elected as an MEP, in the summer of 2013, I campaigned as an Oxfam volunteer on a programme called Love Syria, which was trying to keep awareness of the situation in Syria in the public consciousness because the media was failing to report on it.
Sajjad Karim,
sorry?
I want to bring Sajjad Karim in. What do you make of the point Julie Ward makes there that the UK government has been slow to react? They could have been doing this 2 years ago.
I'm afraid that the position is much worse than that. Europe as a continent in its entirety has been very slow to react. And indeed, the international community as a whole, under the auspices of the United Nations, has really not properly fulfilled or risen to the challenge that we were facing. But we now today find ourselves in this situation that because the proper planning had not been put in place, because a proper response was not there from the international community going back now some 24 months, at least 18 months, we today are finding dead bodies washing up on our shores. If we continue to say that we are not going to react in a proper fashion, then I'm afraid this is going to be a very dark stain on the conscience of Europe and the United Kingdom for many years to come.
Finally, to you both, and I want a yes or no answer from you both, please. Should we be taking more people than we currently are in the UK? Julie Ward, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, of course we should. I think this has been a failure of leadership, personally. And
okay,
that's what
I asked for a yes or no answer, Julie. I didn't ask for any more than that.
Okay.
Julie Ward of Labour and Sajjad Karim of the Conservatives. They are both North West Euro MEPs. Thank you both for being on the programme this morning.